Yeah, let's go ahead and get started. This is John Lee with St. Louis Real Estate Investors Association, and we're here today again with our weekly meeting with Davis Travaglini LLC, and we have Kathie Davis and Christina Travaglini right here on the line. And welcome. Thank you for being our guest again. So give us our update.
We're happy to come and see you. We're working with new technology this week. We've got a laptop with cameras, and we're very excited about that. Because we can kind of see you guys now, which we really couldn't before. And I also want to say that Chris Basler should be in here in a few minutes. I think he's on a call. But here he is. Chris is here. So we don't have to like throw my phone around the room to talk to you. We have to sit on each other's laps. Yeah. It also means that I can't mute Christine. So that could be. You might hear all my hemming and hawing. So our big thing that we just did, and the reason why we acquired this laptop, is because the courts are going to start doing virtual dockets. And we just did a rehearsal with our county judge. And Christine, that's the cases that have kind of been accumulating that had prior court dates, right?
Correct. The first court date we have is going to be June the 4th, next Thursday. And those cases that we have on that day are cases that the initial court date was March 25th or 6th, whatever that Thursday was. But since the courts shut down around May 13th, 15th, whatever that was, that court date got canceled. So this is now the first court date all those cases are getting. And so it's going to be a good trial run. We're not sure how it's going to go, but we had a trial run, like Kathie said, with Judge today. There's a meeting room where everybody comes in, like it's
like this,
like it's in the courthouse, in the courtroom.
Yeah.
And then they've set it up where they have what's called break rooms that the defendant can go in with. It isn't hearing everything. It's just the attorney and the defendant to hopefully try and work on some kind of a settlement to do a consent judgment. And that's how we're doing it. We're still kind of working out how that's gonna look and play out. We're hoping we can do a consent judgment with DocuSign that we can maybe email while we're talking to them in these breakout rooms, so that they can just sign through, signing with their finger or clicking a button to electronically sign, and then it's sent right back to us. The court has set up a way for anyone who doesn't have the means to get a document emailed, then that we have to both go in front of the judge and
virtually.
Again, this is all virtual.
Yeah.
And recite the terms of the consent judgment and whatever the agreement. The judge or the court is recording the terms of the consent judgment, as well as recording the defendant saying that they agree to all these terms, understand the terms, etc. And then so that's all recorded, and then we would submit the actual document with all those terms on it to the courts for the judge to sign off on. Now, we're not sure how well that's going to work with the timing of it all. It depends on how many cases are on, because we can only talk to the judge one at a time, and so they may decide to limit the number of cases on any docket, depending on how that turns out and how many they have to record. Now, I can say that next Thursday's docket, they haven't limited the cases. There are 244 cases on that docket, which is a lot. And I anticipate they're going to cut that number, even with the Zoom, and not allow, if there's too many cases on there, they're not going to be able to get through especially if they have to do a recording of every agreement with every defendant.
Yeah, I will tell you that Christina's been working really hard, as we've talked about in the past, and trying to get consent judgments from people and, get cases resolved before that docket. So we actually have pared ours down. Yeah, a lot. Now, and there are a number of cases on that docket that are like MSD and that kind of thing. And they are likely to get rid of a lot of their cases because they don't have service or they get continued or, what have you. But we're still a little concerned about getting through all those cases in that time. And, we've talked and the judge we've talked about, or they just do their cases. So we're hoping that will work out. I was really pleased today with how well the breakout room worked. I was able to do it. Okay. So I'm like about as technical as your average gerbil. So that was good that I could figure it out. I have more hope now that our pro se defendants will be able to figure it out. And of course, when the judge told me to go in the breakout room and talk to the attorney, I said, well, Donald Trump told me I couldn't be evicted. So anyway, so that was very positive, and we're looking forward to next Thursday to see how that goes. There's obviously going to be some, bumps in the road and some errors and that kind of thing as we go along. But I will also say that we're really pleased that the county is going to let us take defaults. They have sent a notice out to the debtors that if they don't figure out how to show up next week, we can default them. Now, there might be debtors who will call on the regular phone line and say, I don't have the technology to do that. And I would imagine that those cases will be reset, for another time. We're not going to be able to default them if they contact the court and they say they can't, show up remotely. But I think we're going to make some headway. So we're very pleased about that. Now, that being said, the sheriff is still not ready.
They're not.
Do we have anything new?
Okay, the only thing that I know, and when we say the sheriff's not ready, I think really what it is, the court, the presiding judge needs to issue a new administrative order that is basically releasing the stay order that was set months ago. Because currently that's the reason the sheriff isn't doing any executions, because of the administrative order from the court that has stopped all executions. I've heard, I don't know, because again, everything seems to change on a daily basis. I've heard that the sheriff's department is going back to a working full-time 5 days a week schedule. Now, that's starting on June 2nd. I don't necessarily, that doesn't translate into they're going to start doing sheriff executions next week, because they can't do it until the court does the order. We haven't heard anything. We even asked our judge on the call today. He doesn't even know when that stay order is going to be lifted. So while we're going into court next week and we may get a judgment, we still don't know if they default on that agreement or by not paying, not moving, whatever the agreement may be. We still don't know. It doesn't necessarily mean that in 10 days we get to file the order for the sheriff, because that hasn't been determined when that stay order is going to be lifted. And then keep in mind, we've had the stay order in effect since March 13th, 15th, something like that. So there are now 3 months worth of sheriff execution orders sitting to lift the stay so that those orders can be issued and sent to the sheriff. So it's, even when that stay order is lifted, there's still, I think, going to be a little bit of time.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen as quickly as it has in the past, just because they're so far behind. And so that's,
yeah. The one good thing about these virtual dockets, I think, is if we can master them, for maybe 80, 85% of the cases, this is something that I think we'd be able to keep doing, even if there's a reoccurrence of the COVID and, that kind of thing. Once we all learn how to do it and get accustomed, we should be able to make some progress. So I think I've been telling you the last couple of weeks that I think people ought to go ahead and file now. I really think you should, because to get, on a docket anytime soon, you should be getting those suits on file. Carrie's serving, right?
well, we just had summonses released to us
Yeah.
yesterday
Yeah.
for a June 18th court date. So those summonses went out, and those were for cases that I filed from the beginning of March through around mid-April.
Yeah.
They still haven't given me any court date for anything that I filed the end of April and then all through May. I'm still waiting on that. I think they're still trying to figure out if they need to limit the number of cases on a docket. So I don't know when I'm getting court dates. It's not, there's been nothing established where I can say, okay, I know I'm getting a court date 3 weeks out, 4 weeks out, 6 weeks out. That's still unknown at this point. But again, it's file now because
Yeah.
you don't know when you're going to get in there, and it's
And
at
since
least
the-
you've got something pending and on
Yeah.
file, and then the frustration's just going to be where you're going to have those tenants that say, well, I'm not going to pay, I'm not going to move, you can't evict me, and they're not even going to try and negotiate any kind of repayment plan or anything.
Mhm.
So when you've got those situations, then absolutely file now, just assuming you're not barred by the CARES Act.
Yeah.
But file now, just because we don't know.
Mhm.
Filing now may not get you into court until July. We don't know.
We don't know.
Because we don't
But-
even know how many court dates we're getting.
Right. But I think it's huge that they're letting us serve summonses now on these cases, that we're getting, to chop away at that backlog. I'm really pleased about that.
Right.
Yeah. So at least it's, the dam is starting to burst.
Yeah.
I'm going to turn the computer now to Chris to see if he has any updates for us in his counties. So you're up there. Yeah.
No, I don't. Nothing, not a lot has changed.
Make something up.
The city is, just like the county, city is starting virtual dockets. Next Wednesday, I'll be out there doing one, or I'm here doing one. But it's not going to, we don't know exactly how if it's going to be as county. They're not quite as, what's the word? Technologically savvy or bold or trying things. Basically, they're using the dockets just as a chance to put us in touch with the defendant. So hopefully we can work something out. It's going to be not as fast as the county. I don't have any update on when the sheriff's moving in the city. My guess is about the same time as the county because they've been pretty much in lockstep, the same thing. I've been out in St. Charles again this week. Same thing. Right now it's only landlord tenants until the middle of June. And that seems to be moving semi-normally for landlord cases. I don't know for sure if the St. Charles County Sheriff is moving again because I haven't had to try since it, but I assume if they're in court, they're probably evicting people out in St. Charles. Jefferson's a little more messed up because they are not giving any sort of preference to landlord cases. So I've got landlord cases I filed during the pandemic that are being set at the end of July 28th. I suspect if I filed one today, it'd be sometime in August because they are capping so many people and there's a backlog cases and there's a lot of credit card collection cases out of Jeffco that I'm sure are taking up entire months of the docket. So the real answer is to anything is it's going to take a long time. There's no good solution right now other than just plugging along and, at least we're doing something. That's what the courts are trying to do anyway. So they tell me in Jefferson they could open up sooner than later to more than 10 cases. We just don't know yet. They're hoping by July, the clerks I talked to, that they'll have more than 10 cases per docket, but they have masks out in Jefferson County. They're not forcing people to wear masks. So if one of their bailiffs gets sick, it's back to square one. So that's kind of the concern.
Okay.
I will say the Jefferson County House, locally, as far as associate circuit courtrooms are in very small rooms. And it's even in regular times, there's always been people that couldn't fit in and they were in the halls and the sheriff had to call the halls. There's a courtroom that's actually in the basement. I mean, it's really not conducive to any kind of social distancing or whatever you want to call it down there. So Jefferson is, I think, going to continue to be a problem. But I do think, we're moving forward in some counties and You know, I'm starting to feel a little better about being able to pay the rent around here. So we have to start being more busy and being able to, you know, get more things done. I want to also say that, you know, when they talk about some of these counties where the sheriffs don't want to start evicting and, you know, the judges don't want to order that and that kind of thing, some of this may be like a visual thing. They don't really want to be on the news kicking out the tenant, you know, during the COVID kind of thing. So they're supposed to give landlord tenant cases docket preferences, but they might be throwing those credit card cases in here just so that they can sort of put off the inevitable, you know, giant stream of evictions that's going to happen. Because, you know, every reporter in the world is going to be out there saying, oh, look at this poor person getting evicted during the virus. You know, they were probably making more than we are with their unemployment bonus and everything, but, you know, why should they pay you? Right?
Right.
Oh, yeah, this is being recorded. Oops. Okay, so I guess we're ready for questions if there are any.
Okay, anybody got any questions? That's some good points, Kathie. I can see where the media would really love to do this because they're looking for new information too.
Right.
And this is what a great story. Ooh, I'm glad my tenants are paying. So is St. Louis City issuing some?
St. Louis City issuing summons.
Oh, sorry, not yet. They are. The city has tied issuing of summonses so far to the same thing with the sheriff. They consider it part and parcel. So they are not issuing summons yet. I'll see if that changes come June. Maybe we'll get to stage 1. Maybe they'll start doing. They're not even doing at the county where they give me pretend court dates yet. They're just sitting in a big queue waiting to issue them when they get in line because they don't even know how they're going to do it. My anticipation is that we might start seeing court dates probably middle of June start getting issued for July and August, but that's just guessing. It could be they don't issue any summonses till July. Doesn't mean you shouldn't file if you want to file to get in line because I do believe they'll go in. They're not going to prioritize landlord cases to my understanding, but they will go in bing, 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 bing order. So the sooner you can get your case in, assuming it's somebody you don't think you can talk out, the sooner, you know, August is better than September. July is better than August. That's the kind of way I've been selling it.
Chris, are you having virtual dockets in the city?
I am.
Yeah, but those are on existing cases.
Those are on only on existing cases. In those cases, they're telling me if somebody wants a trial, the trial's July. They're not gonna set it for later June or the next week like normal. So it's just my dockets are more meet and greets than anything else. Yeah,
we think our judge in the county is going to arrange for us to have trials.
Right.
He pretty much said that today.
Yeah, it may not be as quick as it's been in the past where usually I could get a trial the very next week. It may not be that, but he's willing to set trials, and I think that they would be virtual, you know, same thing, unless that was absolutely not an option. Then he said, I guess we would arrange to have an in-person trial. But he said they are willing to trials, not jury trials, just a bench trial for that. So hopefully be optimistic that we can, given that the situation that we can be a little more flexible. We have in the past too, where it used to be where it was very, you got 10 days, and if you can't pay it, you're out. Given that we can't really going to be more likely to get more consent judgments from the defendants, given that we can be a little more flexible than normal because we just can't execute. And so, you know, it's fine. So then we're going to need our clients to understand and be a little more flexible too, to understand, okay, you know, where before we could be in court and then say, if they don't pay in 10 days, we can get them out. We can't do that right now. And so, while it's frustrating, you know, maybe we can say, okay, if they're going to do a payment plan or do something where there's some additional terms or a little extra time to at least get a judgment that we could enforce, so that if they defaulted, we could still once they start the sheriff executions, do an execution. But there's not going to be this, you have 10 days and if they don't pay it, we're getting you out, because that's not happening right now.
Yeah. Well, they took away our big stick.
Right. We don't have the ability to do that right now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. The next question is about any types of rent and possession cases that could move to a higher spot in the queue based on criminal behavior, safety issues. Yeah. Well, we do believe we've tried this a little bit. We do believe that there are what we call 441, Chapter 441 evictions or unlawful detainers that are made more for bad behavior than for a collection of rent. And we think that we could get those in front of judges faster, although I don't think we've done it yet.
I've already asked my judge, and no.
I think
No?
once we get to phase one, will be. I think that we have more of an argument once we get to that point.
We think once we get to phase one, we'll be able to do it. But, you know, I haven't tried calling in my favors yet on these. And, you know, I've got the cell phone number of the Chief Justice of the Missouri Supreme Court. So if there is something really bad, we would try. We would try.
Because of the way what I've been told, at least from my judge, with the current orders from the Supreme Court right now, that no, that's not listed as an exception to expediting anything, so it will not be treated as such. And I can still file it as an expedited eviction, but nothing's going to happen any faster. I will still get a court date whenever I get a court date. And with the orders staying the sheriff executions, you know, part of an expedited eviction is not only getting in court quickly, but having the ability then to send the sheriff within 24 hours of the judgment that gets taken, hopefully on that initial date. And so with the current orders where there's a stay on all executions, that even if you could get into court, you don't get to boot them out because they're staying all executions, and still until they do any kind of order amending or adding these as an exception. What my judges, because I don't know how each county will treat it, but in St. Louis County, I've already tried to do an expedited and I got shot down.
Okay. Given the status quo with not getting before a judge and getting an eviction order, what are other lawful ways to encourage a non-paying tenant to move out voluntarily? Well, you know, there's the cash for keys, the neutral reference, you know, that kind of thing. If you think you have a tenant that will cooperate to that extent, then you might want to file suit and see if they'll do a consent judgment, which a consent judgment we can file immediately. Of course, there again, we have, you know, the not being able to get the sheriff to put them out. But yeah, the best lawful way is to go through the courts, and it protects you from a lot of things, including liability for their items and, you know, that kind of thing. Okay, the next question is any updates on foreclosure process? Okay, unless the foreclosure is a foreclosure of a government-backed mortgage, we can do them now. I've changed my foreclosure act. In the county, some of you who go attend the sales may know that as that table in the back of the lobby. But I'm changing my foreclosure ads to read that I'm going to hold the foreclosures outside the doors of the courthouse because they won't let us in right now to do them. But we can go ahead. We can go ahead and, you know, cure them up, default them, accelerate the loan, start the ad. You know, I've got a number of them that are going. So no change. Really there, we can do them still. Yeah. Of course, then if they're in the property.
I was going to say, but then if they don't get out after it's foreclosed on, then then you're stuck with however long it takes to do an unlawful detainer to get them out.
Right. But we can at least start the process. I guess there's one small hitch with that. Some of our recorders are very slow in recording. We do e-recording, so we don't have to go to the recorder's office. I'm not even sure if they're open yet or not. Yeah, but
accepting in person.
Usually we would get back a recorded document in a day or two, and now it's taking like a month. So that part of it's slow. Okay. I don't see any more questions.
Here, how long? They want to know how long.
Oh, how long is the foreclosure process? I see. Okay, if we're not counting the variable about how long it takes to record the appointment of successor trustee, 6 to 8 weeks.
Mm.
The recording part is taking a little longer, so a little bit
For
longer
St.
than
Louis
that.
County. For
Yeah.
St. Louis County it is.
Yeah,
Is
we
that
we
what-
haven't.
I filed something in
Jefferson.
Is that what it was?
Jefferson went really fast,
Yeah.
but yeah, St. Louis County is very slow to get our recorded
I
documents.
mean, I'm
back.
still, I feel like I'm waiting on something that I filed at least 3 weeks ago, maybe 4 weeks ago now.
Yeah, it's been a
That I
while.
haven't gotten, so it's very
Yeah.
slow. I don't know what's going on there.
Okay.
And then if it's a second deed of trust, we have to cure it first, which adds a month. Or if there's any special provisions in the note to accelerate it or whatever time that takes.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay. I think, Harry, do you want to say something there? I think he's got his hand raised over there. Let's see if we can.
Anybody, anything else?
Yeah, I didn't have a message pop up, and then I lost the signal to ask the question that the tenants can throw this process way out by stonewalling things, because I could see that happening. That when I've been at some of my buildings, people talking about, oh, go talk to legal aid, they'll tell you how to push this out indefinitely or something.
We're
So,
friends with Lay.
yeah.
Yeah, we're friends with those lawyers. If they got lawyers that we could talk to and make a deal and make a payment plan and that kind of thing. We're not afraid of that at all.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
If I have to file a pro se eviction for failure to pay rent, I don't know if you can expedite just a simple rent and possession. I think you're going to get in line with the rest of us.
Nothing's expedited.
Nothing's expedited. If you, do we know how pro ses can pro ses file now?
I mean,
You're
I
not
think
allowed
they've
in the
always had
courthouse.
the ability to there is a whole
Mm.
question and temperature check, I think, when you try to go into the county.
Mhm.
But I think they've got something where if you want to file something, they'll let you
Those
file
tables
something.
in the lobby.
Yeah.
Okay.
But there is nothing that is expedited in any way. If anything, everything is taking longer. There's nothing that is going to be faster.
And I was in the city last week and there was nothing. I don't think their pro ses are filing in the city. If they are, we don't know how they're doing it. We'll try to find out more about that for you for next week.
Okay.
Yeah. This tenant fits into the 441. Why don't you call us about that, Carol? And we'll go over the specific circumstances and see if we can figure that out. And Dwayne, would all of this be applicable to a deed of trust not being fulfilled? You mean not being, if the mortgage, if the deed of trust is secured by a note that's not being paid, then yeah, we can foreclose. I hope that answers the question. I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right, great. Any other questions? I think you did a great job answering. It's really some good updates, Kathie
Yeah.
and Christopher. I can't wait to hear next week how it actually went.
Oh, someone is saying they filed rent and possession pro se in the city through the mail. Oh, that's good to know. I didn't know you could do that. Good. Yeah.
But did
Did you get a court date?
How do you know that it was accepted, received? Have you gotten any kind of an update? Does it show up on CaseNet?
Mm.
I'm
Yeah,
curious
Patrice, we want to know more. Yeah.
Okay, I'm unmuted.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. Carol Kleckner is actually the pro on this. So she walked me through and provided me the link, and you just click the link, download the file, fill it out, and get a cashier's check, send it through the mail. And they sent me back within just a couple of days everything I needed to know that, yes, it's on CaseNet. And like you guys were saying earlier, no summons can be issued right now. But yeah, I did that probably a month ago, I guess.
Okay,
So they are accepting
good.
it.
Yeah, that's
giving
good to
it a-
know.
Yeah,
And you were given a case number?
yeah, I have a case
Okay,
number.
okay.
Okay,
So that's good to know.
Yeah.
Then they are accepting by mail, and
yeah,
we'll file it and enter it and accept it, give it a case number.
yeah.
Yep,
That's
yep.
what's getting you in line.
In
So
line,
when they do
right.
start issuing summonses, then you'll get one.
And I'm pretty sure I have a 441. He's a bad dude. He's not my tenant. The mom's the tenant. I know I've sent Chris a really long
Where-
email about
okay.
this.
Is the properties in the
But-
city?
We've talked about this.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, so Chris is helping you with that. Yeah.
Well, no.
There's nothing we can, there's
Well,
nothing they'll
I'm just
do.
wondering, Chris, is there anything that Rich Sikora can help us with on that?
I've tried. I've
Uh-huh.
called about one tenant that was that. And all he could do is send an email to the, this is the city councilor who I've dealt with. And I had one that my client said they were calling the police and the police were not responding. And I talked to Rich Sikora in the city and he said, this is about drugs. And he said that they, for a while, had a policy on not basically arresting anybody for drug use or doing any sort of drug interventions. So he said he put an email in to the problem properties officer to see if they could get somebody out there. I haven't heard back from my client. I suppose on the positive side, she hasn't called me in the last couple of days, so maybe things went well, but I don't think they're doing a whole lot. And we've tried to get the judges to see it our way. But my guess is we're not going to get 441s able to do it until the city and the county move to phase 1, which takes away the certain 7 cases that are allowed to be filed. It just says emergency cases. That's what St. Charles is using to let landlords file their cases, because St. Charles is the only county that's determined that landlord cases are all emergency cases. So, good for anybody at St. Charles.
Yeah,
Yeah.
go St. Charles. Okay, anything else?
Well,
Thanks, everybody.
okay, well, thank you very much. We really appreciate the updates.
We'll talk to you next week.
Thank you so much again.
Okay,
Ready.
bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye all.